you remember one thing. You screw up just this much, you'll be flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, Triple Threat Vet Podcast. It is Thursday at 7 p.m. Glad to see everybody on TikTok. Glad to see everybody on Facebook. This will be the last week for Facebook, but we will get to that in a few. What we got going on today? Let's see. Be sure and hit us up on YouTube. We are moving the podcast to YouTube exclusively live, so like, share, subscribe, and follow. I want to give a big shout out to our guest from last week's the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley, came on, waxed poetic with us, told some great stories. The guys were texting me throughout the week how cool the stories were. Be sure and check out his podcast, Your Next Mission. He's across all socials, got millions of followers on that thing. So lots of great knowledge. We really appreciate him coming on. He does have the second annual 12th Sergeant Major of the Army Jack L. Tilley Golf Tournament that's going on at Summerfield Crossing Golf Club in Riverview, Florida. So check that out. That's on April 10th. Got Your Six Culture. That's our exclusive outfitter. They make all the apparel that we wear here on the podcast, except for this shirt. This is another throwback here. So visit them over at sameflagsameoath.com. Love those guys. And got to give a shout out to Becky Jo Art. I'm telling you, she's working on some new stuff with some like neon paints, like Simba and stuff. Man, it's cool as hell. Check that out, BeckyJoArt.com. Project Zero, they've got all kinds of stuff going on. Just pay attention here to the stuff in the center because their adaptive saltwater fishing program, which is in partnership with the VA Adaptive Sports Grant, their seats are filling up. That's where you go out and you fish from the shore and, be around a lot of other veterans. Do some great stuff, and then never forget that they've got the upcoming crawfish throwdown and a Fireball Friday coming up on the 9th and the 15th, respectively. We added to the reading list the Soldier for Life book. We didn't really get to talk about this on the podcast last week that much, so I felt bad. So we're going to put this in the Triple Threat Vet Platoon reading list, Soldier for Life, Leader's Lessons from the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley. Appreciate him coming on again. Check that book out. I know that Matt's probably going to talk about this a little bit more. It's a great event going on. I'm actually going to be there being one of the table judges, working with Mary Lynn. The Texas Association of First Responders is having their 17th annual charity wild game cook-off and rodeo. That's this Friday, 10th, and Saturday, 11th. I'll be out there on the 11th judging the barbecue. Like I said, we are just moving to YouTube exclusively, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Lots of veteran gamers on Twitch is why we're on there. We're not trying to think we're gamers, but I think Al wants to play games. But we are moving the podcast live exclusively to YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch after this week. I want to give a big shout out to Noah. Noah Suter graduated from Navy boot camp today. This is my ex-wife's son, so my kid's brother. Graduated from today. I got to watch it online. Very cool event. Now we're definitely outnumbered in the family here. This week, got a cool guest. This is Sergeant Major retired Bobbie Parks. He was my first sergeant in the 561st MP Company. Very special. He shut down the 101st MP Company, stood up the 561st MP Company. And there's a lot of things we talk about when it comes to leadership, but really, you say take care of soldiers, but the act of shutting down one of the direct support 101st MP Company division MP companies, and then turn it around and becoming a 561st with the M2 of a guard unit, and the leadership that he displayed, wonderful. Can't wait to hear some of his stories. I think it's about time that I pass you over to Matt Johnson. What's going on, brother?
Oh, hello, everybody. It's Thursday, and you know what time that means. It's Triple Threat Vet Podcast time. So good to talk to another great guest today. We're excited to bring on Bobbie Parks, talk about all things Louisiana crawfish, Cajun, gator hunting, frogging. I'm sure he knows about all that shit, so we'll get into it. but I just want to welcome everybody in. Say hello, Ty, if you want to throw up that flyer again real quick. So if you're in the Houston area, not this weekend, but the 10th and the 11th, there is an event going on for the Texas Association of First Responders. These guys are putting on a wild game barbecue cook-off. It's a cook-off event. If you look at the screen there, they've got a lot of people that they're trying to support and they're trying to help out. One of the ones that I don't see on there that has been on the show is a friend of the show, Guardian Grounds Ranch, which is a first responder nonprofit, is also going to be out there hanging out. I don't see them here probably because, where the flyer came in, but they're going to be out there as well. So this is to give back to that first responder community. So if you're out in the area and you're able to go attend, see these guys, say hello, talk to all the vendors and the event sponsors that are out there, it would be a really good time and a good way to give back to the community. So if you have some time on the 10th and the 11th, go check it out. And shout out to Becky Jo Art. Prints are up on the website, and yes, she has a glow-in-the-dark painting that's coming soon. If you follow her on social media, Instagram, Becky Jo Art, you can see all the cool stuff that she's making. So go check that out. She does take commissions now, so if you have an idea in your brain that you want to put on a painting, the wait list, unfortunately, right now is probably going to be anywhere from 8 weeks to 3 months because she's got people reaching out every day. So get in line, get in there while it's hot, As everything goes, famous people, price goes up. So if you can jump in there with her today, you'll be able to get one of those originals and have something from a ultra talented woman who also happens to be my wife. So I don't even know how that happened, but she settled. That's all I can say. And with that, let's take it to the hero.
What it do, people? So I'm excited we have somebody from Louisiana on here because I was told that when people in Mississippi flush their toilet, that's where all the shit shows up, is in Louisiana. So I just want to confirm that or figure out that that's the truth. But I was told that a long time ago. So I just want to verify with somebody who's living in Louisiana if everybody in Mississippi shit when they flush, does it end up in Louisiana? Just curious. So today I just want to, a short rant today. I want to just talk about having brothers. And I mean like actual brothers. So my brother came over the other night and we decided we were going to act like we were 21 again. Bad idea. It's been 2 days and I still don't feel great. I still feel like I need to take a nap. I'm not drinking for another 6 months at least. Like we decided it was time to get it in, and we got it in, and it was a freaking horrible idea. So if you've got brothers that want to come hang out, let them hang out, but don't provide any alcohol. At least if you're having my brother come over, because he's going to drink it, and he's going to drink more of it. And then at like 1:30 in the morning, like we'll be, strolling off to bed, and then 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work comes really freaking quick. So I just want to give a shout out to my brother, White Mike, and say, fuck you. I hate your guts, and I hope you get eyeball and ball sack cancer. So there we are. That's what I got.
Good old White Mike.
No, he came over. He came over. He came in town, Matt, because he had a job in Destin that he was supposed to be at like at 5:30 in the morning. 8:30 in the morning, that dude was still sleeping on the couch.
No shit,
it was a rough night, bro. Like about 52 bush lights later, I was like,
there you go. Dude.
I don't even know where I'm at.
Yeah, but when you get around your brother, right? Especially if you and White Mike, your relationship, and you guys get in front of each other, it instantly becomes a competition. It doesn't fucking matter what's going on, dude. It's bro. I'm drinking this beer, and then you see them drinking, you're like, I ain't no bitch, and you just start drinking more, and it's like, okay. I'm a little disappointed though that you can't hang anymore. Like I'm disappointed in you, bro.
I tried, and I was the next day. Today, I was like, phew, I don't even want to smell no beer, bro. Like
you gotta get your numbers up, because when you get here in September, I've already been talking shit to Dennis Butterworth and Robert Rocha. So I told them we got to have a tailgate. So
no, I'm down. But the problem was we started like taking shots along with beer, and like that's never.
Hey, look, Al, this is one of those moments, you know what I mean, where you've been married for like 10, 20 years, and then something happens in the house, and your wife looks at you, or you look at your wife, and you're like, you changed. You've just changed. What happened to you?
Oh, bro. She's mad tonight. I should have talked about this, but she's mad at me because I'm in my bathroom dropping a old steamy, and I hear her scream my name. She never does that. Not even when we're naked. Nobody screams my name anymore, right? So I hear her outside screaming my name. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I hear it again. I'm like, oh, this is serious. Then I hear the door open and she screams it again. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, there's a snake. So here I am pinching one off, like flying out the bathroom, trying to find the shovel. We can't find the snake. Don't know where. She's like, it's a 25-foot rattlesnake. I'm like, that was probably this big. But I'm searching the woods. I'm walking around. I never found the snake.
Just curling up into bed with y'all tonight.
Still have no idea where this snake's at. But apparently I'm the problem because I decided it was time to use the bathroom. Like I'm the fucking problem. So
how dare you?
How dare me go relieve myself?
I mean, speaking of like shitty decisions, right? Speaking of shitty decisions, I heard that you are in the running to be a contestant on like a full-scale karaoke live reality show.
I wish. I'm not.
No, I heard you.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Why do you drink to get drunk? To get high? To get laid?
I mean, she could have finished that off, but it was Facebook Live, so I get it.
Hey, here's the problem. If you notice in that bar, I'm the only motherfucker in the corner by myself having my own party. That's what happens. That's what happens. I drink enough beer. I start having parties all on my own.
So what you're saying is
that was not a karaoke bar, by the way, people. That was just a bar that happened to have a microphone laying around, and I decided, let's go.
That was the Tom Hall VFW Post 2427.
That's
right. But we all know that anytime you get around a whole bunch of veterans and there's music, somewhere, somehow, you could turn it into karaoke. 100%.
That was one of those nights that I woke up and was like, how the fuck did I get back to my hotel? And then my brother's like, Ty got us an Uber. I'm like, where was he? Right. He was like, he was in the Uber. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't even remember. Like, I woke up, all my clothes were still at the VFW, my chairs, all my shit. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on right now.
I mean, that sounds like a good weekend.
Hey, the bunker was the truth, Matt. You should have been there.
Oh, I know the bunker's the truth. Matter of fact, Shiza Minnelli's in the house, and Shiza, you were number 2. So Al, number 2, Shiza's number 2, all good. So I tell you what, if Shiza Minnelli's in there, do not play shuffleboard with that fucker. He's a freaking
shout out to the bunker.
Shuffleboard shark.
They didn't have any Navy ones, so I took the Marine Corps one. I'm cool with that. But yeah, there it is.
Oh, bro, they don't have any Navy. They gave me an Army one.
That's funny because I was the quartermaster when we bought those, so I'm pretty sure I bought Navy one. Somebody must have stolen.
Of course, because they're the fucking most valuable ones in the bunker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's very possible.
It's fair.
Or they could be just sitting in the safe where I left them 3
Probably.
years ago.
Yeah, Ty was like, they're in the safe, and she was like,
yeah.
Again,
she was awesome. She was like 200 years old. I don't remember her name, but she kept feeding me shots of whatever. Like, you want a shot of this? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want a shot of
she was giving you coffee too. And speaking of coffee
shots.
Speaking of coffee,
Daddy James barbecue sauce. So James McCombs, veteran's been on the show, has come out with a bourbon barrel blend coffee, 100% Colombian coffee. And on the back of the packaging, it memorializes Stephen Cribben. Now, we've had a bunch of people from the 101st Company on, and I would like to read here something real quick before we bring on the guest about Stephen Cribben, just to talk about him a little bit. He was little bands. He was killed 4 November 2017. So Stephen Cribben was born in Rawlins, Wyoming during a raging blizzard where the doctor barely made it to the delivery. As a toddler, he thought it was fun to put a towel over his head and run headfirst into a wall. That ended when he ran into the door jam. Stephen's mother was an athletic trainer for Rawlins High School. Stephen would love to sit in the whirlpool that had cold water, which is funny in that Stephen didn't like cold water as he got older. As an infant, he loved to laugh to the point of gasping for air. When he finally came up for air, he would start all over again. Stephen came from a long line of practical jokers. I know a lot of practical jokes he did on Sergeant Major Jeffrey Palmer. His grandfather threw a disarmed grenade on a muddy compound during World War II and made a lieutenant crawl through the mud. His high school classmates joked that they knew where Stephen was on campus by following the trail of Skittles. He never forgot the importance of humor and would use his skills as a practical joker to raise spirits and morale during the tough times. We raised both our children to look after those who couldn't or wouldn't stand up for themselves. During his years in high school, he stood up for other kids that were getting bullied. Excuse me, the football team was harassing another student, and Stephen went to the player and told him in no uncertain terms to end the harassment. He continued that ethos in the military. He looked after his team and juniors. Stephen would spend extra time with his teammates to make sure everyone understood the concept that was being taught. Stephen also followed his parents, becoming a multi-sport athlete. Stephen ran both cross country and track, eventually adding bicycle racing, marathons, and Ironman triathlons. As a matter of fact, Stephen competed in the Ironman Florida just before he entered basic training. So the physical portion of basic training was a breeze. Stephen was an MP. I deployed with him at least twice, and then he actually went to selection, got selected for Special Forces, went through selection, Q course, everything, and then deployed and was KIA, of course. So it says, this is the post note here. Stephen passed selection for Ranger School the week before he was to attend RASP. There is a difference between RASP and just going to get a Ranger tab. He was going to RASP, 75th Ranger Regiment. He went for a motorcycle ride, which ended poorly and injured his knee. When he called to inform his mom, his family of the situation, his mom lectured and yelled at him for about an hour. When he showed up to work, his commander started to inform him of his displeasure and indicated he could save it, as his mom had yelled at him for an hour. His commander then asked Stephen, "Does your mother want a job?" So that's what's on the back of the coffee. Special guy. Everyone in 101 and 561 would say that he woke up in the morning and pissed excellence. So Stephen Cribben, will never forget you. Love you, buddy.
And just so everybody knows, that coffee, and there's also a barbecue sauce that's coming. If you buy either one of those, what does it go to, Ty? It goes to raise money for something, correct?
Yeah, I should have been more prepared with that, but I don't have that information. But I am going to put the website up there. It's DaddyJamesBarbecueSauce.com. Or if you're just lazy, you can go ahead and use that QR code right there that we put on the screen. That'll take you directly to Daddy James Barbecue Sauce. So it does all go to a good cause. And James becomes memorializes a veteran every year on his products. And I think that's amazing, because we got to keep saying those people's names, and especially Stephen Cribben. He was, like I said, he pissed excellence. So he was your favorite soldier's favorite soldier, I think. Yeah. So he was awesome, dude. I'm glad I got through that. I thought I was about to cry there for a second.
No, you did good, man. There you go. Go to Daddy James Barbecue, support it, have remembrance of our heroes, and support a good cause for sure.
Hey, I know a guy that makes shirts, U-House. We can get that shirt made. I think he can probably vector that image and make it nice.
Yeah, 100%. As long as you're not going to pretend like you can't play shuffleboard and then go out there and whoop everybody's ass and act like you're drunk. Because I know that you were probably throwing those drinks like into like a fake plant, pretending to water it. Because there's no way you're that good at shuffleboard unless that's all you do at home too. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, them guys are freaking sharks. I mean,
they are.
We had a Marine buddy that passed away a few years ago named Dave Holloway. So when Dave Holloway and U-House got on teams, they would start betting, I mean, not betting, gentlemen bet $1. But they would beat everybody and just be absolutely blitzed. The more they drank, the better they got. Al knows what that's all about.
I was horrible. I sucked. And then my brother-in-law sucked even worse. Like we were out there looking like rookies. We got beat by Ty and Tom. Like they
although
I mean, they beat us bad. It wasn't even like a competition. There was no contest.
Yeah, for sure. But Shiza Manelli, just so you know, like next time we'll pull out the cornhole boards and then we'll do that instead of standing at some little tiny table where you just slide it down there and you got like sand to help you. Let's go play some cornhole. I know you got some boards and you pretend to practice. So let's see what your game is in that one.
We're not taking co-host over on TikTok. Sorry. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate everybody in the comments, but we're not doing any co-host on TikTok. Appreciate you. That's cool though. Or at least we're getting people to watch. So you want to go ahead and bring on the guest?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So like I said, normally we read a bio. Sometimes we've got a few little bullet points, But like I said, I was telling the guys before, I came to 561 in a very transitional time. I actually got divorced. So anyone in the military knows that when with divorce in the military, there comes much consternation. I had 5 children, so it was kind of messy. And so he was my first sergeant, and the leadership that he displayed for someone that was a brand new sergeant, had been under, deployed with him before, just the leadership that he did from turning a direct support MP company and then casing that guy on, bringing up the 561st, having to work with a lack of people in MTOD positions, and then new equipment have to get ready for. And then not only that, but also prepare everyone's coming in for a deployment that was imminent within the next year to year and a half. So you had to get this company ready. And it being in leadership positions, you see different types of leaders. This is a leader that led me through one of the strangest times of my life, and then at the same time took an amazing 101st MP company, shut it down, and then retrained all the people that came in, all the influx of new people that he got. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned from Bobbie Parks. It's not necessarily how many awards he got, the leadership positions he had before, which I knew some of them, but this, his stories are going to be amazing. And then the regular stuff we go through, his story is, away from me is crazy is what I'll say. So we'll talk about all that and get to where he is now, because I've come across this gentleman 3 or 4 times in my career in different capacities. He actually was a civilian garrison XO when I was on the G staff at Fort Polk. So without further ado, let's bring on Sergeant Major retired Bobbie Parks.
Woo woo.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on, Sergeant Major?
Hey, another day in the jungle, man. Hey, thanks for having me on there. I really appreciate it. Great opportunity to speak to y'all.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We appreciate that. Look, you and Ty decided to dress up wearing different shirts of the same thing, I guess. You have an airborne, you got 101st MP company, you're meeting and maxing both of those things in there. So it's a pleasure to have you. Always love having senior leaders come on that can help us talk about career and leadership and the different things that they've gone through. So it's an honor to have you on, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what we like to do on our show is we get right into it there. Sergeant Majors, we like to introduce you to our audience, help you get to know the people that listen to us, but them also really get to know about you. So where we like to start is, where are you from? Like, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about what it was like to be a kid growing up where you're from. Because if you're a Louisiana boy, I'm sure you got all kinds of things that you got into being younger, being from Louisiana. But where are you from? Where did you grow up, and how was it?
Man, I'm going to shock you. I'm not a Louisiana boy. I'm a Southern California guy. So I was born and raised in Southern California, Downey, California, actually, to be specific. So I was raised in Whittier, California, graduated from California High School. You can't get any more California than that, I guess. Right down there in the middle of Southern Cal. And I hated every minute of it. I was not a California guy. I was kind of like a fish out of water. Everybody around me was riding the surf and doing all that kind of stuff, and I was a country boy at heart. So born and raised in California, and looked at the military as a way of getting out of California. That's what I looked at the military as, and I loved the military. If you ask me about a war movie, I can probably tell you every war movie from John Wayne to, all the good ones, San Iwo Jima and all that stuff. I watched them all, and that's what inspired me to want to serve my country, because I looked at all those guys and I said, you know what, I love my country more than anything in this world, so why not go and serve?
So he left out the greatest John Wayne movie ever made.
Fighting Stevies, bro.
John Wayne and the Fighting Stevies, bro.
Yeah.
Fighting Stevies, yeah.
The greatest John Wayne movie ever made.
Yeah, Fighting Stevies is a great movie.
Was your family originally all from California? Because you say you're a Southern boy at heart. Were you guys transplanted to California? Did you go there for family? Was your family originally from the South, or are you just like, that's kind of like what you were drawn to?
No, my daddy's he's Missouri. He's from Missouri, and then they brought him down into California. I don't know how they migrated down in there, but he's from Missouri. So my lineage goes from the Nordic side of that line. So I'm from actually from the Viking kind of lineage, and my dad's in that line. They came over and they landed in Missouri, and then they put a big settlement up and stuff in there back in the day. Then my mom's side is my granddaddy's Cherokee, and my great granddaddy is come over on the Trail of Tears. He's a Oklahoma Cherokee, and he was his parents were killed on the Trail of Tears, so he was adopted by the Choctaw, and then he was placed in an orphanage. So I got Cherokee and Viking. That's pretty
Hell
crazy mix.
yeah. That's like double warrior, dude.
I see it.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I guess where that anger management comes in handy to keep my temper down. But yeah, so my daddy they came into California. My grandfather brought them out of Missouri into California, and they settled in Southern California. Daddy was a truck driver. Great granddaddy was a truck driver, so they did trucking for most of their lives and stuff. And matter of fact, my dad, he passed away in the sleeper of a truck at a truck stop. So that's how he ended his life. But he wouldn't have had it any other way.
So did you have, I mean, you said you watched a lot of war movies growing up, and that's kind of what got your interest in the military. Did you have also a family history of service in the military, or was it just the movies you were watching that got you interested?
No, grandfather was a Marine. And then my uncle was a Marine, served in Vietnam, and my dad was Navy. So and I decided.
There you
to go
go.
in
That's where the
Army.
California comes in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My dad was a Navy guy. He served a couple years, but he had an alcohol problem, so he didn't last too long. He got in trouble for punching out his XO, and they gave him a general discharge out of the Navy and stuff on there. My uncle served in Vietnam and got discharged out of there, and he had a lot of problems with PTSD and stuff like that. And my grandfather was, of course, he was a Marine, and he served regular. He didn't really go anywhere.
So did you get to talk to those guys and ask them questions? Did you hear stories? Like, on top of the movies, is there anything that you remember, that maybe a story or something that you asked them about that got you into that arena, or did they just really not talk about stuff like that?
You know, my uncle wouldn't talk about it. He was very close-lipped about Vietnam, and he had a lot of problems with it and stuff. My grandfather was he was a great patriot. He loved the Marine Corps, and he always told me, if you ever didn't go to college, he said the military was a great way to get your life squared away. He used to always tell me that. But he was always a tradesman, and he could solve anything. So he was a welder, stainless steel welder by trade, and so we always were working with our hands and stuff like that. My dad, he wouldn't talk about it. He didn't care about the Navy, and he had drinking problem and stuff. So he really had a hard time just kind of relating to any of that kind of stuff. And nobody else in the family served, so they, and finished out their career. So I wanted to be the first one to go do something with my life.
So what was the sentiment from your family when you told them you wanted to join the Army? Like, how did it go over? Were they supportive? Were they like, are you sure? Like, what was it like when you told them that you wanted to go?
And my mom was like, "Yeah, you sure you want to go do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out of here." But they were supportive because, they had 5 kids. My mom got remarried, my stepdad, and, they had 5 kids and couldn't pay for college or anything else. So you had to figure out a way to take care of yourself. And I didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck like my parents did, and they didn't own a home. They always rented. They always drove secondhand cars and stuff like that. I mean, we were never for want. Don't get me wrong. We had clothes on our back. We ate good all the time and stuff. But, they didn't have a savings. They didn't have built a retirement and none of that stuff. And as I got older and did well in school and stuff, I wanted something more than that. And I wanted a career, and I wanted something that was going to, take me to the next level. And I was very competitive because I played a lot of sports in high school. I played football, baseball, anything, track, swimming, anything I can get my hands on. I was doing something. Always stayed busy. So, I was a very competitive guy. So I knew I wanted to join the military. The cherry on the cake was when they pulled that Jeep with the military police into our high school parking lot and did a recruiting show. That's what sealed the deal.
That's what
Bobby.
sealed it.
Hey, Bobby's. He said, sorry, Mayor said he was that guy who was like, shit, I want that Dodge Challenger. I want that Ford Mustang at 32% interest rate. I'm doing it. We're doing this. Sign me up.
Yeah, it wasn't that Ford Mustang. It was that Ford Escort.
Yeah, that's right. I had a Ford Escort too. Why you bullshit?
Yeah, right. I love it. So, what the Army was your first choice?
The Army was my first choice. Yeah.
And what year did you go in?
I enlisted in '86, my junior year, and then I did the late entry program, and then I did my final swear in. I graduated on a Friday from high school, and Friday night I graduated. Saturday morning, jumped on a plane, and Monday morning I was in MEP station. So I didn't waste no time.
There you go. So growing up where you were at in California, you said that everybody was into beach and doing all that stuff. You're a country boy at heart. Did you fit in well when you went to boot camp? Was it transition for you? But what was it like for you once you got to basic and you got into that structured atmosphere? Did you fall right in, or did you have any issues with that?
No, man, I didn't have any issues with that. I fell right in. Man, I loved it. I mean, the physical fitness was just like doing, running the track and doing all the, drills for football and stuff. So I didn't have any problems with that. I was enjoying it. Every day was a challenge. Matter of fact, it was more dealing with the frustrations of the individuals and the personalities that you had to learn how to incorporate into your life with everybody else than really the military. The military wasn't the issue. It's the individuals. And that's your first taste of how to start to work with a team and how to analyze human dimension and take personalities and see how people operate and where they come from and how to get things done and work as a team, because not everybody thinks the same. So when you're looking at stuff like that in basic training, that's the first level that you start to experience how to work with people is in basic training.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing that the military does. Just like, I've told people in the past, if you want to see how the world could be a really, really good place where we all get along, just look at young kids, 5, 6, 7 years old on a playground.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. All they want to do is jump on the monkey bars, run around, play. There's not a care in the world. And then that next step, when you get into young adulthood, you get into the military and you instantly get told, I don't give a shit what you think or what they think, but you're both going to go do this. And you're like, well, I mean, I guess we got to do it. Can we agree to disagree? And that's to your point where you get that first state of like, I don't have a choice. We have to do this. So we have to come together. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
That's a good perspective for sure. Where did you go to basic?
I went to basic at Fort McClellan. I was in Charlie 787 and 1987, June of 1987.
Nice. And then and what was your MOS when you joined?
I was in military police.
Okay, so you joined as an MP, and then
joined military police, 95 Bravo. That's what it was back then. Yeah.
So what was it once you got out of basic, got out of your school? Like, what was your pathway from there? Because obviously you joined in the late 80s, going into the 90s. They had Desert Storm came around and all that. But I mean, what was it like for you serving in that time? What's the things that you remember about that time serving versus, once we'll get to, once you guys ran and you met Ty, but what do you remember about those early time of your career? Like, what's the thing that stands out?
Well, the early times, I mean, you got to think that, in that time, the deployments were Panama and Grenada. So those were the only real deployments back in those days. And there were very small units went to those, so you didn't have a lot of patchworks, not a lot of combat guys were going around, but we still had a lot of Vietnam veterans that were around. So in the units, we had a lot of guys that were sergeant first class and first sergeants that were Vietnam vets, and those were the ones that were training and molding the young guys and stuff. Listen, my first duty station was out of basic training was Fort Ritchie, Maryland, which was a communication site in Cascade, Maryland. It's on the border of, it's closed now, but it's on the border of Pennsylvania and Maryland, and it supports Site R, which is the Alternate Joint Communications Center, and it's about a half mile underground in the solid granite rock mountain, and it's a place that it's fills in all the communication needs for the military, but as a military policeman, you're pulling security in a place like that, man. There's no room for error in something like that. So for a first duty station, it's very intimidating. And the post was only a mile and a half by a mile, so it was a very small post. And there was really nothing. I mean, we had a liquor store and a subway station and a couple things outside the gate, and that was it.
Of course, there was a liquor store. I mean, there's no base without a liquor store, man.
Oh, and a bar, and the bar was Chocolate Park. That was the bar.
There you go. There you go. Got a bar and a liquor store. That's all you need. You can get your nutrients and then go back to work.
Yep.
That's crazy. So for you coming out, like what is it that you, and I like to ask these questions too, like what do you remember, like leadership, tactical, or just general soldier advice that you would get from the Vietnam era guys that you got to serve with that have seen some things? And, at the end of the day, you're in a time where there's not a lot going on, but those guys know what it's like to go on deployment and be in a combat zone. What are some of the things that you remember picking up from them that became invaluable later?
There's a lot of great tools that you pick up from guys like that. One is respect. You got to respect for what they did. You respect them, and they don't put up with disrespect. And then you got to take the lessons that they teach. They taught you attention to detail. The Vietnam vets, they were very big on attention to detail. Every little thing matters, and that's where I kind of picked up where first impressions are the lasting impressions. If it goes in there, if you go into it and it looks good, smells good, then it must be good. But if it goes in there, looks like a wreck and smells like crap, then it's probably there's something wrong inside there. So they taught me attention to detail, all the way down to the smallest minute thing, like cleaning the insides of drains, brassoing the drains on showers and stuff like that. Little stuff like that might seem stupid to people nowadays, taught you to pay attention to the things when you're in the field, like weapons, and making sure that they're greased or lubricated, or they're properly functioned, they're cleaned every day and stuff like that. It's little things like that. Your brain has always got to be paying attention to what's going on in that atmosphere. You don't have time for daydreaming. You have to pay attention to what the task is, and focusing on the task. And that's what I picked up from them early on, and they drilled it into you. And when they did a room inspection, they did a room inspection. I mean, it was old school, bounce the quarter off the old green blankets and so forth. So it was very very intimidating, So if you grew up in a day like that, that's what you got from those guys. And so you had nothing but respect for them because of what they went through and how my first platoon sergeant was a door gunner in Vietnam. And he would tell us stories of having to go through and clean out villages and stuff like that. And it was a very intimidating thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure coming in at a time where, that wasn't going on, and hearing somebody tell those stories, I couldn't imagine like going like you did all that. You know what I mean? It's like, because for so long, like, I don't know, me and Al and Ty joining in the late 90s, that there wasn't, there's a huge gap there, right? There wasn't very many Vietnam guys, when we were in. I mean, there's probably a couple, but they were for sure on the way out. So you didn't get to learn from them as much as you did before. So once you like progressing forward, joining the 80s, what are some of the deployments you went on that are memorable, pre 9/11?
Well, I used to always say that I was the most non-deployed sergeant first class in the United States Army because I never deployed. My first deployment to a combat zone was Iraq.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, so that I learned all my trades and had to serve in all the hard positions the hard way in order to make myself competitive for promotion. Because I didn't have a deployment. I had a tour to Germany and 2 tours to Korea, but the only deployment I had was the one deployment to Iraq. That was it.
And so was it just luck of the draw for you why you weren't on those deployments, or it just didn't fit in the cards? Or, we've heard from some
No.
guests that were like, no, you're really good at this, so you're going to do that. Like, we need you
Yeah.
here and things like that.
Well, I was in Germany during OIF-1, and my unit got alerted and they deployed to OIF-1, but I was a corporal, and all the corporals got selected to stay behind and train the reserve unit that came over and teach them where the housing areas were and how to protect the family members that were behind. The hardcore sergeants took the platoons and they made the platoons and the teams and the platoons and everything else, like regular lineage. Yeah, specialists, PFCs and everything, and the staff sergeants line, and they put that together, and that's what they went to Iraq with. But we got left behind as corporals, and I just happened to be a corporal. It's almost like the benefit of getting promoted and busting your butt to get corporal stripes, and then you get left behind. So that was kind of disappointing. They all came back awarded with all the ribbons and stuff, going to Kuwait and doing all that stuff and freeing all those guys, and we were training and babysitting reservists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, walk us through a little bit of your career journey for
Sure.
like just ascending up into the ladder. Like you said that you had to work harder and do the harder things. So in your career to get where you were at eventually, what were those things you had to do because you didn't have the deployments or you didn't do the things other people did? What are the things you had to make sure you did in order to be competitive and ascend that ladder?
Yeah, a lot of people looked at deployments as ticket punchers, and in some way they were, but in some ways they weren't. But when there weren't a lot of deployments going on, you had to look at things like Sergeant Morales, Audie Murphy. You had to go to the boards. You had to take on and fight for those opportunities to be a squad leader, a team leader. You had to make yourself well-rounded. So you needed to be in the military police corps. You needed to make sure that you had a little bit of everything and were in the combat units and stuff, the core MP units. You didn't hide out in the TDA units and stuff. So you didn't stay behind the desk sergeant and the traffic units, but then you got a flavor of it. You needed to have a sprinkle of that in your career for leadership. So when I was in Germany, I got to spend a good amount of time. First thing we did was, the 981st MP company was Lance Missile Security. So we rode jeeps and trailers and protected Lance Missile Security units out in the forest and stuff like that in Kitzingen, Germany. They deactivated that unit, and we became part of the 212th MP company up there in Würzburg, Germany, and they were core MP units. So we got more of the core MP unit training. So we did a lot more training out in the field and a lot more, 50 calibers. We got more of the team concepts and did more of that stuff. And leaving out of Germany, coming back into the States, we was stationed in Fort Belvoir. And Fort Belvoir had the 437th MP company was there. but they were deployed when I gotten back. So I was put into a law enforcement unit, and I was able to do traffic school and traffic accident investigation, and got a little bit of the law enforcement desk sergeant time and stuff like that, and did well. And then after that I got picked up for drill sergeant. So did 2 years on the trail as a drill sergeant at Fort McClellan, Alabama. Was probably the best 2 years of my life, which taught me the most about human dimension and the most about why people join the military and why people shouldn't be in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were the for you going to be a drill sergeant? How much did you look back at when you came into basic and what your transition was like as you looked at these young men and women coming through? Did you reflect on that a lot? And did you remember where you were at one point, or like how was that for you? Because everybody that does drill sergeants, the Navy calls them RDCs, recruit division commanders.
Yeah.
Everybody that does that job kind of approaches it a little bit differently. What was your approach to doing that?
My approach to it was I wanted to give them the skills necessary to be the best that they could be when they got to the unit. But then I wanted to make sure that I was not passing the unit, their first duty station, a soldier that was going to be problematic from day one. So I took it upon myself, and this was my first sergeant's goal, and a lot of the other drill sergeants at the time, that if they were going to break, they needed to break in basic training, and we needed to process them out of the military there. That way they didn't get to the units and hamper the units and keep them from being able to exercise their missions and stuff like that. There wasn't nothing worse than getting a soldier that had all kinds of problems, was broken from basic training, fractured, hairline fractures in their ankles and stuff like that, couldn't road march and everything else, and you were just sitting there babying them along. Next thing you know, you're trapping them out a year down the line, and it's just a waste of a TDA slot. So we took it upon ourselves to take it seriously. Now, I was a drill sergeant right after Aberdeen Proving Ground. So Aberdeen Proving Ground was the time where drill sergeants got in a lot of trouble because of a lot of sexual misconduct and stuff like that was going on. So they looked at drill sergeants really hard for anything that was going on. And you can get in trouble really quick for any kind of type of misconduct. The only way to keep yourself squared away is to make those privates hate you. So you had to be a butt. And if you didn't be a butt and you let them privates get too close to you, you were going to get yourself in trouble. And that's the way you had to have it. And by the time you got to the end of basic training, though, you were able to get them to understand why you were doing what you were doing. If they made it.
Yeah, for sure. So once you left from there, what years were you a drill sergeant?
I was drill sergeant 95, 97. And then the Army said, "Hey, you did such a great job on that hardship assignment. I'm going to send you to Korea right out of being a drill sergeant." So,
where did you go in Korea?
So I was stationed in Wagon in Korea. So way down south. And,
what is that? Is that by Busan?
Yeah.
Down near Pohang. That's where I was at.
Pohang, baby.
And
many water
baby.
wells in Pohang.
Hey, the Forgotten Post, baby. Marine Corps Forgotten Post.
Yeah. I used to remember driving around in Korea when we first got there. We're driving down whatever the Korean interstates are, and you would always look at them kind of funny. And then you realize somebody would tell you, like, yeah, the lines on the highways are really big because shit hits the fan. This is going to be their runway. And I was like, oh, it does look like a runway. No shit, dude. They're like multitasking over there 100%. And I used to remember all the little tiny Suzuki trucks, but they put like cartoon size cargo in the back of them. You're like, these bitches are falling over, dude. There's no way that thing's street legal, you know? It was that place was cool, going into the markets and getting that knockoff brand name stuff that you could barter for, and you come back, it looks real, and you pay like $5 for it. Yeah, I remember
got my Louis Vuitton Timberland boots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Korea was a good time, though. I mean, generally going over there, I remember my time in Korea. It was clean. People are nice. You got to see a lot of cool stuff, and it was one of the better deployments for sure. For me anyway. I was in the Navy too, so CBs on land, not on a ship. Didn't have curfews, so it was always a good deployment for us.
Dude, we were with the Marine Corps. They used to always tell us, and I don't know how true it was, but they would be like, "Don't worry, we have the security forces for Marines were like, we have diplomatic immunity." So we would be on the streets just I mean, wild, like didn't give a shit. We were like, "Oh, we're with these guys. They got diplomatic immunity supposedly. Like we're gonna wreck Korea. We're gonna raise hell." We did.
Yeah.
Like we would leave.
Yeah, but when you're young and we
got arrested.
Guys.
I got arrested in Seoul. Like we were in. I'm sure you went to Seoul, Sergeant Major, a couple of times. I was in Seoul. We didn't know there was a curfew. The Air Force security forces arrested us at a bar. Luckily, our staff sergeant was on the roof of the bar having a great time by himself. They took us to jail, and they were like, "Somebody E6 or above has got to come get you guys out." He shows up, bails us out, and takes us right back to the bar. It was great. Oh, it was great. Them Air Force dudes didn't know what hit them. They were like,
yeah. But you remember, because whenever you'd go to those places, whether it was Tagu or what was the other one? Was it Kadena? Was there?
Kadena, yeah, Kadena.
When you go to those places, I remember we were doing water well in Pohang. We were drilling the water wells. I still see the Marine dudes running with logs every day up a hill, and I was like, okay, whatever, that's cool. You guys can carry a log. But I remember going on the Air Force bases when I was young in the Navy all the time, and we would always pull in to get drill steel or equipment or whatever, and it would be we checked in at the front gate, right, and that's the secretary, and then they're like, okay, well, we got to wait for the warehouse guy. Then we had to wait for the forklift guy. Then we had to wait for a tie down guy, and we're like, dude, how many people do you need to do this? Because all of us CBs on the truck were like, we can just go get in the forklift. We can go get the shit off the rack. We can put it on the truck. We can tie it down. We can be out in 20 minutes. But we're there for 6 hours because you're waiting for lunch breaks. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I was always like, geez, dude.
Should have joined the Air Force. Should have joined
as the recruiter. Remember, you'd be like,
take
this pin. Every piece of the pin is a job in the Air Force. You know what I mean? And we'd be like, in the Navy, you can just do the whole pin. And it was just like, oh, it's crazy. But
how long were you in Korea, Sergeant Major?
I did 2 tours in Korea, so I was there for 2 years, and both tours I was part of the special action team for the Korean Peninsula. I was the NCOIC for both times. First time as a staff sergeant, then the second time I was there as sergeant first class. I led both teams. Matter of fact, the second time I was there during 9/11. We actually led the team during the lockdown for 9/11. So that was a big deal.
So what was going on for you on 9/11? Like, how did you hear about it? What was your day like? We like to ask everybody that, where were you at? What were you doing when that happened?
I was sleeping, and I got a phone call that said turn the TV on. I turned the TV on. I saw what was going on, and then next thing I know, my phone rings again and says we've been alerted. So the SRT had to assemble, and we had at that time we were driving a 1976 armored truck, Brinks armored truck.
Damn, deuce and a half. Damn.
Nah, Brinks armored truck.
Oh God.
Yep. And then it was black, painted. Is the only one in the whole peninsula. And we got into the staging area, had a helicopter on standby, and we were ready to take off to anywhere in the peninsula. We were locked down for 3 months.
Yeah.
So you guys were pretty much the quick reaction for anything on the peninsula. If it happened, you guys were going.
Anything that happened within any of the concerns for the military housing areas of the bases, we were going. We were the only peninsula SRT team there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many were going, not goings did you guys do in that time, especially in the beginning, because everything was so like, we're going. Nope, you're not going. We're going. No, you're not going. How many?
A lot of them. A lot of them. We stayed dressed half the time. We was sleeping on the couch, sleeping on the floor, sleeping in a chair, half dressed, vests on, vests off, guns loaded, ready to go, everything thrown up in the corner, bored out of your stinking mind, stinky and stuff. And then after about a month or so, it kind of, if I remember correctly, kind of leveled off a little bit, and then we started getting into the rotation of everybody else. Because I also served in the S3 at the time, so and I did regular rotations in S3, and then they kind of kept us on a short leash.
Hmm. And so, where did from Korea? Where did you go after
Korea,
that? What was the next
hey,
assignment?
Korea back to Campbell, and I spent 9 years at Campbell, and so that was good. First tour in Korea, out of drill sergeant went to Korea. From Korea went to Campbell. 2 years after Campbell, went back to Korea, then back to Campbell again, and then I
Mhm.
spent the rest of the time at Campbell.
And you went to the 101st when you went to Fort Campbell.
Yep. So out of Korea the first time, I went to the 194th MP Company. I was a platoon sergeant at the time. John Lineberger was my first platoon leader. He was fresh. That was his first platoon leader job. Oh man, great guy, great guy. He was a big old burly West Virginia lineman from the West Virginia football team, and he was just a big dude. And he was a great guy, and that was my first platoon leader at the 194th MP Company. And we went out from there, and I went back to Korea, and came back from Korea, then back to the 716th again.
And you were what were you going back there as the second time?
So the second time I went back as the S3. I was S3 training, and then I did the SRT in SOIC again, and then closed that out. And that was 9/11, and then I came back to Campbell.
And at this point, what was your pay grade once you went back to Campbell? Were you a sergeant major at that point?
No, I was E7 at that time.
Okay.
So the time I came back to Campbell for the main stint, I was a sergeant first class again, and then I served as a sergeant first class for a good bit of time. And let's see, I floated around a couple different jobs, and then I picked up as the HHT first sergeant. And then that's where I deployed it with the HHT first sergeant to Iraq, and that was being an HHT first sergeant is a unique, very unique job. It's like you're a first sergeant, but you're not a first sergeant. And you have all the duties and responsibilities as a first sergeant, but you don't have the diamond. And then you got to work with all the staff officers to get everything done, and they have control of all the soldiers. And you got to get them to get all their PT stuff, and you got to get them to get all the weapons qualifications and everything else. And the commander at that time was Chad Goyette, and Chad was he was a squared away captain at that time. He was rock solid. I enjoyed my time with him, and we spun up the HHD and prepared them and took them into Iraq.
So for you going from all your time in the military, drill sergeant, you were in Korea, you'd done SRT stuff, but as we alluded to earlier, like you just missed all those deployment cycles, probably that a lot of other people had, right? Going to whether it was Bosnia or you're going into the Gulf War or any of those things, Kosovo. So for you going to Iraq with the HHD and even in an unfamiliar position, how was that for you? What was your mindset there, knowing that maybe some other people had more experience? Did you have a lot of guys around you that had gone on deployments? Like, what was that whole workup for you in that space? Because it sounds like you probably had people that had gone on, deployments and stuff like that. What was it like for you going into Iraq for that deployment?
I was nervous. I'll be honest with you. I was a little nervous. But I had great soldiers. I had great leaders. And we had trained and everything. So when you're in the HHD, it's not like you're going to be patrolling and stuff like that. So you're ready, and you have to take on and protect the compound and the headquarters and all the soldiers and stuff. And you're ready to set up the supply tents, and you're doing a lot of this menial stuff and everything. So it was a lot of things that I was used to doing, but it was unfamiliar territory at the same time. So I really didn't know what to expect. So you're kind of on edge all the time, and your head's on a swivel. You didn't really sleep too much. You're thinking about everything. Am I forgetting this? Am I forgetting that? And stuff like that. But I said I had great leaders around me. So Captain Goya was a great guy, and I was able to always, bounce things off of him. And so we kind of split up duties. I would stay back and maintain and handle everything at the fobs, and Chad he was the convoy guy. He'd jump in, lead the convoys, and go get resupply, or he'd take off and go down into Kuwait and get other stuff that we needed in order to lead us forward and stuff like that once we move forward. So those are the things I remember, the most about it. You made a few mistakes and stuff like that going along, but luckily you had guys, you know, Sergeant Major Smith and all those guys that you were, Rodney was just a super guy. I mean, I looked up to him probably the most. He was the S3 at the time, and he had his stuff together, and he would point me in the right direction if I was missing out on something. He would give me the line, and then with Sergeant Major Hayes, a guy that I have the utmost respect for, probably the number one mentor in my life that taught me how to be a non-commissioned officer and a good Christian man, and to be a good leader, where I didn't have to yell and scream, but I could talk. And that's where the transitional point of my life as a leader went from a yeller and screamer from a drill sergeant perspective to a talker, influencer, motivator, and in kind of how you inspire people to get things done. You have to trust them, inspire them, and give them purpose, direction, and motivation in order to accomplish the mission. And that's the guy that I looked up to, and he gave me a lot of great feedback on things. If I made a mistake, then he'd give me in detail how I made that mistake. And
Yeah.
Where were
yeah.
y'all at in Iraq, Sergeant Major?
Oh man, we started off. Let's see, we started off in Kuwait, and we moved out of Kuwait. We followed with we were with the First Marine Expeditionary Force, and as the Marines led up the center, we had two Marine MP companies, if I remember correctly, assigned to us, and we fought up the center and through Diwania. We were out there for a while. We ended up in Babylon, and that's where we had the main bases in Babylon. Was the last place I was at. And then we kind of split off from the Marine Corps there and went back being assigned underneath the 101st, and they kind of closed it out there. And that's where most of the action kind of took place. That's where we lost Colonel Orlando and Bellavia and Greeley and those guys. It was in a Diwania. Or no, as Karbala, excuse me.
Karbala, right?
Karbala, yeah, Karbala, Iraq, yeah.
So I have two questions for you. The first one that I would have is you alluded to earlier that you were nervous going in, right? It was a nervous thing for you. What was your biggest concern going into that situation, going to the point? What was the thing you were the most concerned about? That like, I got to get this right, can't mess this up, or I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this or that. What would that have been for you?
Oh, it was a number of things. Making sure I was setting up security right, making sure I was taking care of my soldiers utmost, up front, bottom line up. That was it. What did I need to do? I needed to make sure I fed them, make sure I gave them all the resources, make sure that the ComSecs were set, make sure they had passwords, make sure they had ammunition, make sure that they were squared away, make sure that they weren't doing anything that they weren't supposed to be doing, security for the areas and stuff like that. But at the same time, it almost felt like sometimes you get in this lull because you get in some of these fobs and it was like you're just on a training, event and stuff. And then you had to get snapped back into reality a little bit because it's not training, you're in a combat zone. And then something else would pop up and you'd have to, get your mind set back into the right frame of reference, and getting things going, especially when we were in the D1E. And D1E, we were at that was at the college. It was an engineer college that we had taken over, and it was a dump when we got there, and we had to clean it up, and yeah, the burn pits and stuff there inside the college rooms, or the feces were everywhere, and you had to clean all that stuff up and sweep it, and who knows what we got from all the dust and all the junk we had to clean up with the place. But that was one of the areas that it really got kind of mundane, and you had to catch yourself and make sure that you were paying attention to what's going on, because you would get caught up real easy in being complacent.
And then my other question for you is just, if you don't mind, we always like to ask, is there any specific mission set, any specific thing that you remember from there that you'd like to talk about, whether it's remembering soldiers you served with, somebody that a mission that went down, anything that's memorable to you there that you would like to talk about? Because we always believe on here, just like we talked about earlier with Cribben, if we don't continue to talk about those people that made that impact in our lives, then a lot of times, their story doesn't go on. And so we want that to happen. Do you have any story or anything from those deployments that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the night that we lost Colonel Orlando and Bellavia, and Joseph Bellavia and Greeley. It came as a shock, because that was really the first confrontation I think the unit really had kind of, the HHD and area had been in and stuff. And when they came back, and Sergeant Major Hayes had came into the compound, and he's telling them that they were in a gunfight and everything, and they were picking up ammunition and all that other stuff. It really kind of sobering experience. You load them up and putting all the grenades and everything out of the lockers and the safes where you're keeping everything secure at that point, and they're loading up for battle, and they're going take care of the mission and stuff, and then they bring back some of the stuff, and I was in charge of cleaning up some of the things of Colonel Orlando's, and I was washing his uniform, because his kids wanted his patches and stuff that he had worn, and it was covered in blood, and it was a very very difficult task. Not too long before that, I was talking to him, and he may be the battalion commander, but I was his first arm, and I was responsible for him, and it's hard to think about losing anybody. Not too long after that, I was the one. Joseph was actually my ops guy, and I had reassigned Joseph to go back into the line unit, and because they were short squad leaders, and so Joseph went back out there to do that, and here he ends up getting shot, and how do you talk to his wife and stuff about that? It was difficult, but we worked through it, and but we try not to forget about any of those guys.
Yeah. Yep, very true. If you don't continue to talk about those heroes, then nobody's gonna know why they're allowed to run around this bitch and say crazy stuff on social media and act like a just crazed lunatic. If it wasn't for those brave men and women over there doing what they did, then you would have a much different picture of what it means when you put it on Facebook and then somebody's at your door, you know what I mean? Or whatever you're doing. Yeah. The freedoms that we enjoy is because of those individuals and everybody that went over there to serve. So I appreciate you talking about them, and thank you for that.
October 16th, that's the date. So we try not to forget it.
Well, that's a day I don't forget. What year?
2003.
So that happened for you guys the day my son was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation before, Matt. Like, I was assigned to the 101st MP company, but I knew all those people. I had been assigned to HHD before. I had deployed to Kosovo with HHD and 551. So I hear him talk about the commanders, that he served with prior. These are all the same leaders that I tell you guys about that I had when I got to Fort Campbell. And then, eventually I think we can talk about more of the stuff if you want to, Sergeant Major, about what went on with this deployment, the 2003 deployment. But I definitely want to get into talking about when you became the diamond wearing, the Pierce lozenge wearing first sergeant for 561st, shutting down 101 and bringing up 561st. But like these names that you're talking about, these people have a very high reverence, and I've had a lot of them on the podcast. And most of the time, I'm funny and goofy, but like I said, I went through a pretty transitional time, and you were a rock solid first sergeant, and I appreciate your leadership.
I appreciate it. That was a tough time, when we when I got selected, Colonel Sergeant Major Hayes selected me to be the first sergeant. It was a great honor. But to be the first sergeant of the 101st MP company was an honor that I'll never ever forget, because if anybody knows, you talk about storied units in the military and stuff, 82nd, 101st, first IDs, fourth ID, those guys, those are the units that are ingrained in your memory. And to be a platoon, direct support platoon for the 101st MP division and support those, that was a big deal. You were the cream of the crop. You were the top notch soldiers to be part of that unit. And if you were in those platoons and you supported those infantry brigade battalions and stuff, you were it. And I knew it when I was in 194th and 551 and stuff. Everybody knew that if you were going to be part of the 101st, that you had to be part of the game. You had to have certain PT score. You had to be weapons qualified. You had to be top notch to be selected. It's almost, they had to be like you were getting interviewed for a CEO job or something like that. But it was that important of a position. They weren't just going to put anybody in those in that unit. It was a big deal.
Going from the minors to the majors.
Yeah. So when Sergeant Major Hayes had asked me to be the first sergeant, I was blown away. I was like, great, and it was what I've always wanted, and it's what I'd worked for, and I knew that I had a big job to fill. And then when they said that Mike Johnston was the commander, I was even more thrilled, because that had just put the cherry on top of the cake, because I had known then that I didn't get hit with a dud of a commander, and that I was going to have a good run as a first sergeant. And that's what you're fearful. You're fearful if you're going to get a good platoon leader as an NCO, and are you going to have a hard time, or are you going to have a good commander as a first sergeant, or are you going to have a good battalion commander, are you going to be paired up right, how hard is the job going to be, and what's the mission going to call for? But I had Mike Johnston, and that guy was a stud, from the from the tip of his toes all the way up, man. He was awesome. He was smart, he was intelligent, and he's an awesome friend. I can't say enough about him. And he mentored me a lot on a lot of good stuff, and I tried to give him the best of what we could do. But we had to tear down the 101st, and nobody wanted to see the 101st go. So we had to do
real quick for me. I know that Ty knows the story 100%. I know that Al and I probably don't. When you say they had to tear down 101st, can you kind of walk us through what does that mean, and kind of like go through like the whole story for that, because we're not familiar, and I'd love to like get the whole background to it and kind of what happened, and walking through it.
So when you're deactivating the unit, everything that is part of that unit has to be accounted for and turned in. So from every weapon system to every soldier to every part of its record keeping, to its colors, everything. So we had to make sure that the colors were properly taken care of and sent to the historians and sent to the MP museum and were archived accordingly. So you had to get a hold of the MP museum and you had to get a hold of the Department of Heraldry, and you had to make sure that all of the colors and everything that had to do with the battle streamers and all that stuff were accounted for and were sent forward. Now, when you start looking at it, there's a number of different streamers and there's a number of different colors that were around the unit. And so which ones are which, and you got to figure out what was what and stuff like that. The colors that were sent to the MP Museum, I don't know if a lot of people knew, were the actual colors that Kim Orlando actually had during his tenure as the commander of the 101st. So those colors and those battle streamers and stuff like that are all sent to the MP Museum, and then they were all accounted for and stuff. I got a set, and then Mike Johnson's got a set, and so they were all accounted for. And then all the weapon systems had to be sent off and turned back in. All the vehicles had to be, sent to, 1020 standards, had to be turned back in. And then the soldiers were disseminated back throughout the MP Corps, were PCS to different locations or were put into other units within the 716. Now, when they finally got orders and they said that they were going to stand up the 561st, then we had to kind of do what was going to stay and what was going to go. So you're going from a divisional or core MP unit TDA to a guard MP TDA. Everything doesn't match back up because the guards don't get everything that the corps gets, and a lot of that stuff, had to be turned in and stuff, and we weren't going to get the same weapon systems and we weren't going to do the same mission. But we knew as a command team that the 561st was going to transition from a guard as its initial stand up to a core MP company within a few years. So we had to keep that in mind as we were, keeping what equipment we were able to keep and stuff. So weapon systems were turned back in, but then we got new weapon systems assigned to us, and then we would get new NVGs and combo equipment and everything else everything had to be laterally transferred and reassigned. So all the amount of paperwork was phenomenal. And we had to do Chope. Andrew Chope, he had a big task on his hands, taking all that stuff from the supply system and transitioning from the 101st to the 561st. And that was a big deal, and make sure everything was accounted for in one way or the other. Whatever was on the books, then we had to turn in as excess and so forth. So
yeah. So I often think about things like this, when BRACs go around and they deactivate units and they get rid of them. Right. So this is one thing that we've all talked about in the past, like Ty and Al and myself have talked a little bit there, serving in the Navy like I did. The Navy holds on to a lot of traditions, such as all services do, but retirements for us are a big deal. Promotion ceremonies for us are a big deal. The way that they do awards, we have a lot of tradition and histories that come from wooden ship days. We keep that stuff and we keep it in there and do it. I often try to figure out, for as storied, and this might be a question for you and Ty to give your opinion on. I'm just curious. As storied as the 101st MP Company is, and as much as they did in, Army history, why get rid of that unit, right? Like, what was the reason to go? I mean, we probably don't know for sure, but like something as storied as that, why close that one? I mean, they could have picked a whole bunch of other ones, right? I mean, was there a specific reason? Was there no reason? They were just like, that one looks good. But then they pick one that's so storied, right? Has such a history.
They did it because Bob Mayer was in the 101st, and they were like, that dude sucks so bad. We don't want any more of him in this unit. We're getting fucking rid of it altogether.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know, man. I tell you the truth. That's a lot of those decisions really don't make any dang sense at all, really, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Because why close one down to stand up another one? Why not just redesignate the one that was there, redesignate the 101 for a new core support unit and drive on? But I don't know. They wanted. Like, they had a reason for it, and nobody ever really figured it out. But we drove on with it, and standing up a unit is probably harder than closing one down, because now you're getting the 561st, and we're getting a unit history that was not very storied as it was, and then you got to research everything, and nobody just gives you all this stuff. You got to go find it, and you got to call the Department of Heritage, and you got to call the museums, and you got to call around who had this stuff before, and you're hoping somebody's got stuff in a box or something that you can bring out and have some mementos of the unit from the days that were gone past. But it wasn't like that. So me and Mike Johnson, we started from scratch. So the champion name and the song and everything, it's all registered, and it's all done like it's supposed to. We registered the 561st and the champions and stuff like that. We made sure that everything was put into the Department of Heritage and into the MP Museum, and had it all, the paperwork and stuff done upright. So it wasn't just like, hey, we just gave it a name, and stuff like that. And we are the champions. We actually got the permission from the group that sings that song, and to be able to utilize that as our actual song for a unit and stuff. I mean, we went that far. Mike Johnson really dotted the I's and crossed the T's when it came to doing that stuff. From the development of the first coin. So the coin that was developed, we developed that dog tag looking coin, and put everything together on there. So standing up a unit, and then you have to build the database, you have to build the TDA, you have to build the MTO on there. You have to register every piece of equipment, every serial number of every weapon, every radio system, every ComSec piece that comes in there. And then you start to get soldiers, and then your first soldiers that are a part of the beginning of a stand up a unit like that are the ones that have the story of really of the beginning of it, and that's some good stuff,
Yeah, it just sucks to know that, like, in hearing you talk about it, the 101st MP company and everything that Ty's talked about. We've talked to a lot of 101st guys. That's an elite unit. They did a lot for combat support. They did a lot to save a lot of people. And then to take that away and then be like, you're here now. And then it's like you explained it. To be selected to be the sergeant major for the 101st MP company, or the first sergeant, and go in there in that storied tradition, it is a huge humbling experience, right? And now you have to, like, the next day almost be like, no, we're going to do this one now, and it's going to be great. But it's like, carrying that lore with you, you know what I mean? Like when you go into those certain situations and you have that history with you, that's the motivation.
Well, Matt, it's no different than when they got rid of battalions for us, when they started cutting battalions down and getting rid of these historic battalions that fought in every war and every conflict in the world, and then they just get rid of them, and you're like, what the hell's going on? So I mean, and then you're a plank owner of a new command, it's like, well, this sucks. This ain't what I signed up for. So I mean, it's tough. For sure.
And it's always weird. I just always wondered, like, what the whole draw behind doing bracking stuff down and then bringing another one up. You know what I mean? Like,
what's the point?
Like in the Navy, we had 8 battalions, right? That got rid of 2 and they brought 2 more in. So you have 8 again. And it's like,
why? Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Again, like, use that history. Cause it, like, I could imagine being the guy, Bobby, that's like, we got to take all these battle streamers from all this historical era in the Army, and we've got to send it to a building for people to go look at, not be able to have this in the ready room or in the talk or in the spaces the soldiers are in, to see this historical power of this unit. That alone makes you go, we're going to be good to go. And then you walk in and it's just a flag, right? And you're like, oh yeah, we got to go earn some stuff now. And it's cool to be a part of the unit, to go earn that stuff and start to make that tradition. For me, I love the historical aspect of things. To be a part of the unit that's that historical and add to that, in my opinion, just is more impactful than, as a military start. We're not starting a startup company, right?
So Matt, I have a question for Sergeant Major, because it looks like Ty's getting ready to heat him up. But I want to ask you about your transition, right? So you retired from the military. What was your transition, and what was that part of your life like?
Oh, man, when I had to pull the plug and make the call to transition out of the Army, it was the hardest day of my life, because the injury from Iraq had gotten so bad that I literally couldn't function anymore. So I had to, I called the regimental up and said, hey, I'm pulling the plug, and he started chewing my butt out and stuff and everything. And I'm like, it's not something that I want to do. It's something I have to do. If I want to walk, talk, and breathe and be alive for my grandkids, at that point I didn't have any, then I better step on out of the game. And I'm not that. He's like, well, you can go, you can, you don't have to, take a PT test. I'm like, nah, I can't be that guy. I can't do it. I can't, if I can't ruck and I can't run and I can't lead with my commander up front, then I'm not going to do it.
What was your injury, Sergeant Major? We didn't touch on that. What was your injury, and how did you get injured?
Well, in Karbala, my first day as a master sergeant, I had just been reassigned back to the 194th MP company as the ops guy, and I was in the Karbala police station with a bunch of great guys talking to the police chief, and we came under attack, and I went outside to figure out what was going on and everything, and they drove a panel van that was, I guess, had a pyramid of 144 millimeter artillery shells inside of it, from what I was told, and they detonated that as part of a backside of a convoy that was coming in to the police station. And I was standing outside, probably about 50 feet away from the truck bomb. And it picked me up, threw me back, pinned me against some HESCO baskets. And you ever seen a movie where sight is going, everything's in slow motion, and the sound is not there, everything's quiet, and then all of a sudden reality kicks back in and everything goes blank? It's kind of like that.
Yep.
And when I woke back up, I was laying on the ground, and I started doing self checks of myself best I could, and I noticed I couldn't stand up. My legs had shrapnel all inside of them, and my leg was ripped open from about a 12-inch gash on my knee, and my muscles were all tore up where I couldn't stand up on there, and everything. My flak vest had shrapnel up inside of it, and back was tweaked out and everything. But an Iraqi guy came over and asked me if I was all right, and wrapped his bandana off his head around my leg, and then next thing I know, Sergeant Hughes came running around and Brandon's doing his thing, man. One of the hardest charging Sergeant First Class I ever met in my life. And he got things orchestrated and got us medevac out of there and stuff. But a lot of guys got injured that day, but nobody got killed. But that truck bomb took out 3 vehicles in front of it, and basically melted everybody that was inside of those vehicles. And I can tell you that I can see I can see when I close my eyes at night, the person that was in the passenger seat trying to get out of the vehicle and the driver grabbing a hold of him as he detonated that truck.
Mm.
And I see an engine block flying across the landscape and landing, across the thing, and you see all that stuff because it was all going in slow motion. It's ingrained in your head and stuff. But I was I was taken back to Brandon, got us out of there and got us back into the compound. And Polish, they pumped you full of freaking morphine, and then you don't remember too much out of that. Had surgery in Babylon, and then surgery in one of the fobs on the way out, and then I was pushed out to Longstuhl in Germany, and then made my way back to Fort Campbell, and then I recovered there. It took me about almost a year to fully recover, but in that time, that was just about shortly after they got back and everything is when I was able to pick up being the first sergeant. But it took a lot of recovery. But in between that time and recovering, when I transitioned out, I hadn't figured out, but I had a traumatic brain injury and I lost part of my memory, and I can't remember a lot of
Right.
my first sergeant time, and I can't remember. Like Bob Merrill, he gives me a rash of shit all the time, but Bob's a great guy. The one thing I remember about Bob is that Bob was my R&U guy, and he used to keep my barracks tightened up and squared away all the time because that was his thing.
He is a good housewife. He's a very good housewife.
Yeah,
A good housewife.
but Bob used to say I used to ride him all the time and call him and give him a rash of shit and stuff. I'm like, Bob, I don't remember, Bob. I don't remember that stuff, and I don't remember I don't remember a lot of my first sergeant time in the unit, day-to-day activities. I don't remember a lot of transitional things. It's just the bigger pieces of the pie that I remember. You know, hell, I can't remember that my brother's daughter died and I was a pallbearer. I can't, so
Right.
I lost a bunch of stuff like that. My mom told me about that stuff, and I'm like, I can't remember. So, but yeah, so that's the reason I transitioned out, and I got out in 2009, February 2009 is when I ended up making my way out of the military, and it was a somber day because I was up for battalion sergeant major, and I never got to put the wreath around my star and achieve the pinnacle of a lot of my brothers, like, Woodring and, Rogers and a bunch of other guys that are out there. And it's a little sad, but I guess I'm walking and talking, so I'm okay with that.
Well, you made a hell of an impression. You may not remember some of the things that happened in 5.6 First, but I can tell you from being in that battalion for 9 years, you did fucking amazing work. Just the, the op tempo that was going on in the background with all of those companies within 716th, Saigon Warriors, Peacekeepers, most decorated MP battalion in the military, served in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive. So there was a very high standard. So for you to take a unit like 101 MP, shut that down, and then pick up the 561st, get them ready, and then eventually I think I deployed with them in 2005. So shutting them down in 04, I think, and then getting them ready to deploy in 2006, excuse me. Yeah, that was an amazing feat. And all during this time that you may not remember, I don't know if you remember, I got divorced. I lost my security clearance. I was still doing okay at being a commo guy, but I'd been in the battalion for a long time. We were suffering from the op tempo, just running ragged. And then, but seeing the leaders that we had, whatever command team you were talking about, you and Johnston was amazing. You and Goyette was amazing because I was in HHD 551, 561, 101, and deployed with the 716 6 times. When you talk about the names Brandon Hughes, that's exactly why we do this podcast, so we can say those names, remember that leadership. But I didn't realize until we talk about later on, you were the Garrison XO. So we talked a little bit about transition. How did the transition work when you went to the Fort Polk to be the Garrison XO?
Oh boy, that was a rude awakening right there. Let me tell you. And coming out from being a sergeant major and then stepping in, I retired in February '09, and then I picked up the job as the XO in July, and I jumped right in. I mean, I knew everything about Fort Polk already because I'd been the DES sergeant major for 2 years, so I was running full bore. But I had a deputy at the time who hired me, and he exactly didn't see the same thing that I saw, and he's not around anymore. But I'm not going to talk illy of him and stuff like that. But I got a lot of people, a lot of directors used to tell me, "You ain't no sergeant major no more, Mr. Bobbie Parks. So you ain't gonna be talking to me that way." And I used to say to them back, I said, I'm always going to be a sergeant major. You're either going to like it and do it, or you can, go find some other way of doing it, I guess. And then I was 100 miles an hour as the XO as I got started. And I had to learn real quick as a civilian that you needed to talk to people differently, and you couldn't treat them like soldiers, and you couldn't demand things. And the words you put in emails mattered more to them than anything else. And so I had to restructure, I had to rebuild myself. And it took me 3 years. It took me 3 years of hard work to rebuild myself. People, I had secretaries, turning me in for time card fraud, and because I'm like, I just made a mistake. I didn't know time card fraud here, and I had to learn about.
Like, tell me the last time I did a freaking time card, dude. You know what I mean?
I'm like,
I'm at work. Why do I need to tell you I'm here? You see me.
Yeah, you can't knife hand civilians. They don't appreciate the whole. What the fuck did you just say? Like they don't
care that you're like, I was here at 6 o'clock. Well, you didn't clock in. You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was the first one in. I was the last guy to leave every dang day. As the XO, I was making sure the commander was squared away, the sergeant major was squared away.
Clock in.
But yeah, I didn't do that ATAPS correctly.
Man.
And so boy, they were all over me like white on rice. And so I was like, so I had to learn real quick. So I
was
studied.
just your new Army knowledge online training that just didn't quite get done, bro.
That's
what the time cards were.
That's all of us. I mean, my wife told me I was sitting in a pickup line to pick up my daughter from like elementary school, and I had put my retirement papers in, so I knew the writing was on the wall. It was over, and she looked at me and said, "What are you going to do when you get out?" I was like, I don't know. Something will happen. She was like, "You're going to have a really hard time." I'm like, "With what?" She was like, "The way you are, like the way you act, the way you talk, the way you do things. Like you're going to be a civilian, and they're not going to take kind of it." And I was like, "You're full of shit. I'm going to handle my business as a civilian.
I'm a leader."
And yeah, you're absolutely right there, Sergeant Major. They don't take kindly to military aggression.
They don't, bro. I remember Al, like after getting out, me and Al were in the same place for a little bit, and I used to tell Al a couple times, like, bro, slow down a little bit. Like,
you're not a senior chief
anymore. You don't have to be the senior chief here.
Yeah.
You can you're good. You're still going to get the same message across, right? But you have, and I used to try to help him and go,
he did. You tried.
I get what you said, and I'm good with it. But some of those people, they probably think that you hate them, and you're like trying, you're trying to motivate them, right? Like, this is what we got to do to get it done. I need you to do this, and like that's giving the task, assigning it out, and let's execute. When you get to the civilian world, they're like, he doesn't like me. Like, I just am just telling you, we're going to do a good job. I don't like
anyone personally.
Yeah, and it is. Like, I think people thought me and Al hated each other for a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got all kinds
when we
of
get
world.
on calls in the same thing, he would say something and I would come back and say something back. But in the civilian world, we found out quick, like, oh, like you guys think I'm being insubordinate because I
you
have an
can't.
opinion.
Yeah, apparently in the civilian world, you
So
can't
being
call
that senior
somebody
leader,
a
like,
motherfucker. Like, all right, motherfucker. And they're like, whoa,
you know what I mean? Like, oh, my bad.
whoa.
Sorry, I have ideas. I won't do that anymore.
Matt
you
just
know?
called Al a motherfucker. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, so what? That's like that's our pet name. And they're like, whoa, we
Yeah.
can't do that. Like, oh shit.
You know how many calls we got? Like, hey guys,
Yeah, can you tone it down, please? Like,
what was it one time? I think we were in a meeting one time, and Al was just, and again, we're all who we are, right? We're just who we are. So you're talking, and you forget that you're not in the Chiefs mess, you're not in the ready room or whatever, right? And I don't remember what you were talking about, Al, but you were talking about somebody like, yeah, this chick was talking to me one day. They got so angry.
oh, I got an email from HR. I said chick. I got an email and a message blast.
In
like,
a personal phone call.
We need to talk to you. I'm like, what? And I didn't even know what I said. I was like,
yeah,
of all the shit I've said, all the foul mouth stuff I've said, this is what's going to get me. I was like, crazy.
Dude, the best part when I talked to Al after, he was like, they didn't even care that I told them I call my wife a chick every day. What are you talking about?
Talking about? Like,
they were like, you can't use that. He is like, oh my.
I try to get Bobby. I try to tell him
like,
I was like, I'm from the South. Like, we say a lot of crazy shit from the South. Like, and they were like, not here, you don't. I'm like, okay.
Hey, you see a lot.
Like, man, what are we gonna do here? Like, it's crazy. So we get what you're saying. Like, I had to learn how to write an email.
100%, bro.
I got to see him as a detachment sergeant at an HHD. You know, I wasn't assigned to him then. Then I got to see him as a first sergeant 561. I remember when you were clearing as a sergeant major in 716th. I think probably getting ready for a deployment. And then I think the first time you ever smiled at me was when you were the Garrison XO at Fort Polk. All those years.
It was easy then, bro. He just had to clock in and clock out, homie. That's it.
I was a sergeant first class first time I saw you smile.
That's awesome.
It's a different world.
We lightened it up for you, Bobby. We lightened it up for you. However, I think you see that there's fire on the screen. Ty's got sunglasses on. It means he wants to put you through the hot seat.
Fire on a mountain.
If you know what that
Bring
is,
it on.
but it's going to be a good time.
Come on.
All right, I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's crazy to talk about sometimes. Can you hear me, Sergeant Major? I don't think you can hear me again.
Bro, I think he just turned off his thing trying to turn it sideways. He'll be back in a second.
There we go.
There you
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent. You're just testing me to make sure I still got some commo skills.
That's right.
But I really appreciate you coming on, sharing the stories. This has been a lot of fun. I'm not going to play music tonight because I don't want it to mess up the phone. But what's the most unique hunting place you've ever been in the world?
Most unique hunting place I've been?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I've called turkey in Iraq, driving down the MSR. I've called turkey in Uganda. And that's probably the most unique place is in Uganda, Africa, is hunt turkey there. But yeah.
The second question I have for you, it's something that I think you've already answered, is tell me what it's like to be a first sergeant or a sergeant major at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I think you've kind of talked about that, but if you don't mind, tell me one more time what it was like being a first sergeant or being a direct in 716th as a senior NCO at Fort Campbell.
Listen, 716th MP Battalion is one of the most storied MP battalions in history. To be part of that battalion and to be a leader in that battalion is one of the greatest honors that any military policeman could ever have. And to have served in some of the most storied units like 101st, 194th, you can't ask for any more in a part of career. I may not have been able to put a wreath around my star, but I was able to serve with the men and women of the 101st Airborne Division in combat and in peacetime. And those are some of the greatest memories that I'm ever going to have. They taught me how to be a leader more than they probably even know. Those skills I'll live with for the rest of my life, and hopefully I pass them on now as 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 I work in the civilian positions that I work and influence the young men and women that I come in contact with today. Um, so I mean, you can't put words to stuff like that. You can only hold them in the highest regard.
Well said. Well said, Sergeant Major Air Assault. All right. If you had a 1 hour conversation with one person from history, who would it be and what would you talk about?
Man, I'm just gonna tell you, it would probably have to be Bob Merriman. I don't know why I would say that, but um, he just, I don't know, that guy. I have memories. And I don't have memories. If I had to go back and I wanted to talk to somebody that would bring out probably the worst of what I did and the best of what I did, it would probably have to be that guy. He was at the both points of the spear, and sometimes they think they're the little guy, but they're actually a big pebble in the on the pond when they come to the development of senior people. The challenges that people give you and in life, and those skills are what you take away from it. Um, Bob Mayer is probably going to be one of the most storied people that I probably want to be able to conversate with. If I was able to remember half of what I did with him.
I love that. CIA Bob's a big part of the program. He's always commenting, and he's basically like a 101st historian, knows everything. That's why we call him CIA Bob. But appreciate that answer. What's the best advice you could give to veterans that are transitioning out of the military into the civilian workforce these days?
Hey, the best advice I can give to is go out and find a job that makes you happy. Um, the EXO job didn't make me happy, but when I found myself in as the director of the Army Community Service Center, in the most inopportune time, that job makes me happy each and every day. So you got to find a job that makes you happy. Don't settle for mediocre. Don't settle for a paycheck. Go find something for the rest of your life that's going to be able to put a smile on your face, and you're going to be able to share your story with people. And don't hide your story from people. Share it because those experiences are going to help shape our country into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of people commenting in. Command Sergeant Major retired Rick Morris says, "Tell Bobby I said hello." Bob Mayer says, "Wow, thank you, brother." And there's been so many other people checked in, and then there's a long lineage of names that you've talked about.
Sergeant Major
Bobby,
Morris.
you and our Mike did a hell of a job sending up that 561 MP company, and you guys built a warrior team. Absolutely. So yeah, I know Chope is at a VFW meeting. He's the best supply sergeant ever. Yeah,
Hands down.
for sure. All right, a little bit easier question here. What was your mission playlist? I never knew what kind of music you listened to. What'd you listen to before you went out on mission?
Man, I'm eclectic. Man, I would listen to everything from Metallica all the way to Ricky Skaggs, and so you had a little bit of everything. On me, I had Kathy's Clown on my thing. If you look on my playlist on my radio right now, you're gonna see everything from 50s to 60s to bluegrass to 80s rock and so forth. So I listen to Meatloaf. I listen to Nine Inch Nails. About the only thing I can't stomach is rap.
I like Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. That's my jam.
Yeah.
What drives you in life today?
My faith drives me in life today. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, when I was laying on the battlefield looking up in the stars, I thank God every day for saving my life. So my faith and my family drive me each and every day. To be the best person I can be, pass on what I know, and live life for my grandkids. That's what drives me.
Thank you for that. There are so many mentors that I've had in 716 specifically, but tell me some of the most reverence you have military leader that you came across in your career?
That's easy. Michael Hayes. Mike Hayes is the epitome of what I always wanted to be as a non-commissioned officer. Hands down. I look up to him in every aspect. So, I mean, and then if it was an officer that I looked up to even more is probably Mike Johnston. To me, there was no other officer out there that did a job like he did a job.
Absolutely. I couldn't think of two better answers myself. All right, Sergeant Major, we got two final questions for you, but here's an important one. Who's the best, Michael Jackson or Prince?
Jackson.
And why?
You can moonwalk.
Absolutely. It's getting much closer now. Prince used to have a big lead, but now it's 50-47. So yeah. Last question before we let you get out of the hot seat here, Sergeant Major. And again, thank you so much for coming on. What can we do to get better as a podcast?
I don't know. It's pretty amazing the clientele that you've had across there. Some great heroes, great sergeant majors of the Army, great soldiers from all services, sailors, and everybody. I mean, you guys do a great job, and you know what? They tell their story. You draw their inspiration out of them and stuff. I don't think we can just get it out to more people. I'm going to share it more. I'm going to take this and share it with everybody I can possibly pass it to them and on Fort Polk and let them know what's going on so they can participate.
Appreciate that a lot.
What I just heard,
the hot seat. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, what I just heard is to be determined live podcast Fort Polk. That's what I heard.
Come on down.
Hell yeah, boy. Go back to them stomping grounds of the Llano, dude.
We'll boil up some crawfish and we'll suck a few heads and
all right. So here's the question there. Here's the question, Sergeant Major. What is the thing you put in a crawfish boil that people are like, really? Because everybody's got one.
Let's see. Probably eggs.
Oh, that's a good one, actually. That's a good one.
Yeah. And I peel my eggs before I put them in there.
You know what I had in a boil the other day that I was like, no shit. Sweet potatoes.
Asparagus.
Now we're boiling crawfish next weekend. My son's getting his Aggie ring, so he's officially part of the cult, right? Yeah. So my wife is like, I need you to put sweet potatoes in the boil. And I was like, yeah, I knew that was coming. But I was like, what? Like, I was never seen it.
So Sarah Cobb, that's my wife. She said I would love to take a visit to Fort Polk. Looks like that's happening. That's going to be happening soon.
Let's go.
Come on. Hey, we got a lot of great locations out here. We'll host you at the Army Community Center and Prevention Center. Podcast live.
There we go. I'll bring the pot. You can bring yours, and we'll boil them up, dude. We'll do a good old throwdown for everybody. Bring some soldiers out there, feed them, be good stuff.
Maybe we could we could get Dennis Butterworth doing something, coming out there and cooking with us. Have all kinds of fun.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
Well, did we miss anything with Sergeant Major Bobbie Parks?
No. Only thing I got is fan or not Lane Kiffin. I got to know.
Oh, still up in the air. Still up in the air.
It's so funny because he was like the most hated dude forever. He was the OC at Alabama, F. Lane Kiffin. He went to Ole Miss, F. Lane Kiffin, and now everybody's like, oh, I love Lane Kiffin. I'm like, no, you don't. He just wears purple and gold now, so you have to love him. That's the deal, you know?
He didn't leave Mississippi. Yeah, he didn't leave on good terms. I'm going to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, man. He's no Ogeron, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Coach O.
Hell yeah. Go Tigers at the end of everything. You didn't understand a word that dude said in the press conference, but you got Go Tigers. That was like his best
stop
English
the drill.
words
I'm trying
ever.
to do a press conference over here. Stop the drill.
Yeah. Coach O is the man.
They better deal with Kiffin for a while, because I don't know if we can pay for any more of these coaches. We got 4 on the payroll right now.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
crazy.
I mean, they're just
you
now
got that
completing
boost
Les
money.
Miles. Les Miles just came off. So
Yeah.
daggone.
Hey, look, LSU, if you're looking to just throw free money away, I mean, I'm not opposed to just getting some kind of internship and you can give me some free money, because it sounds like all you got to do is go in there and try for a couple of years, get fed up, and you get paid millions. I'm down. Like, whatever. I'll be the janitor for $1 million a year, 100%.
I'm say hire me to fire me, because
Exactly.
yeah, because getting
I'll be the
fired.
backup quarterback. I'll ride the bench and make millions. I don't care.
Well, Sergeant Major Parks, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for still giving me time whenever I do have questions. Thank you for all your mentorship over the years, and thank you for being a guest on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Tim.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it, man. Air soul to all my brothers and sisters out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Air assault, ladies and gentlemen. Sergeant Major retired, Bobbie Parks. That was awesome.
It's always awesome, dude. It's the Triple Threat Vet podcast, bro.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Every time people from the 101st come on and they start telling stories, you start hearing all the same names, and I realize, those are the same names I'm telling you all the time, and it's funny. We got to have John. I think he's a colonel or lieutenant colonel at this time, Johnston, on the show. He was an amazing officer. They called him Iron Champion, is what he named the. He was a physical fitness whiz. So just the names he talks about, it's amazing. So I wonder what Bobbie Parks thought of me sometimes. I never asked him, never really asked anybody that come on the show what they thought of me, but like I would want to know what his opinion of me is. So
they came on the show, so that has to speak for something, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But
by the way, Mike retired, so now he can tell us all the dirt, bro.
Oh, I will have to text him then. Sounds good.
Hey, Al, we're about to get into sports. It's probably good you didn't do a bracket, because they are all fucked up, bro.
Yeah.
I don't do basketball.
As you can see on here, it's down to the Final Four with the actual picks, and then it's down to the Final Four with who can win our Triple Threat Bet ESPN.
I mean, it's only 2 guys that have a chance to win. If we're talking, they're going to pick the champion.
Well, there's something that can happen where Bish Daddy and CM Stevens can win. They got an 18% chance. But, yeah, it's probably going to be somebody that picked Michigan or Arizona.
I mean, you would hope. They don't play each other, do they?
18% chance they can win. I don't know what what has to happen. But
yeah, but Michigan and Arizona don't play each other, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the other picks are, though, for them. So
No. So the Final Four right now is – what's the Final Four?
Oh, the Final Four right now is Illinois, number 3 seed, versus UConn, number 2 seed, and then Michigan, number 1 seed, versus Arizona, number 1 seed.
Well, shit, whoever the Final Four game is what's going to decide it, almost, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Michigan Arizona game is going to decide it, but I don't know I didn't look at the other brackets to see what that 18% chance of them still winning is. I don't know. But
yeah, anyway. I mean, dude, this tournament has been one of the ones that's like the most lopsided, dude. A lot of these, for Florida to go out so early was surprising.
Yeah, that's who I chose. That's who I picked.
Dude, I looked at I saw a graphic the other day. I don't know if you guys saw this. Duke lost 3 games this year. Do you know how many points they lost all 3 games by total?
7.
I think it was 5 or 7.
Yeah,
total. They
Crazy.
lost 3 games. All by only like 5 or 7 points. I mean, they lost by 1. I think it was 5 points. They lost by 2, 2, and 1.
Yeah,
like, they were in every freaking game, dude.
That UConn game is a gut punch, especially with one of the Boozer twins being the person that turned the ball over. That sucks because them guys are spectacular.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what's going on. What you do not see on those Final Four list of people that can win and get some cool Triple Threat Bet gear is any of us. So our picks suck.
Well, so here's the thing, though. Let's be honest.
All right, go ahead. Wax poetic.
I tanked my bracket so I couldn't win the stuff automatic. Is that what she would say? You know, like we don't want to get our own stuff. We want to give this stuff out to people that aren't on the show. So I'm happy that we're going to be sending stuff to people that aren't part of the show. But here's what I'll tell you. Whoever does win this stuff, we need photos. We need you to tag it. And we just want you to share our stuff with people, man. We want to send you this stuff. We appreciate you being part of the challenge, but you know, rep that gear appropriately. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. I ain't gonna lie. I wanted to win. I wanted to get some free Got Your Six stuff because, you know, I wear it every day.
I know a guy, bro.
Future guests. Who we got coming on next week, Matt?
Well, I mean, we have Steve Jimenez coming on with Hives for Heroes, an amazing organization that does a lot for vets. And I mean, they, you know, if bees is obviously a thing that I don't know much about, right? Ty, I know you guys had a bee keeping thing over there at 2427 for a bit, but the amount of time and effort it takes to take care of bees and what you got to learn about them. These guys not only are in Texas, but they're nationwide. I mean, they have such a huge community helping veterans with Hives for Heroes. I'm excited to hear about it. And, you know, as more I looked at them, the more I realized I think they're in every state. They have such a huge following. And the fact that you don't hear about them every day, to me, means they're doing this Hives for Heroes for the right reason, right? They're trying to help the vets. They're not trying to make this thing a huge conglomerate of stuff. They're just trying to help people. But when I looked at their website, I'm like, oh my God, man.
I'm pumped, bro. I'm a honey connoisseur. Like how we like whiskey, I like honey the same way. Like I've got bottles and bottles in the house. Like
no doubt.
We're going to the Tupelo Honey Festival next month down in Weehawken, Florida. Like it's a big deal. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's and it's good too, because you get these guys and girls that get to go there and take these bees, and then you come out with honey. But like the thing that I noticed, like talking to Ty about it a little bit and then seeing what happens there's a huge fear factor you have to come over in working with bees, right? Because I mean, you obviously have to wear the gear. The dudes that are like the most insane are those guys that'll walk in there with no gear on and let the bees go all over. And I'm like, no, thank you. Not me. I ain't doing that. Because I mean, once they come out of the hives, you know what I mean? Like dudes could be walking around with just bees covering their entire body. And they're like, they're so nice. I'm like, that's like kissing a king cobra on the head, dude. We're good.
Yeah, it was a cool experience going through the classes. I think our classes, it was a different nonprofit. It was a different variation of the heroes and hives and bees, but we took a class in Syracuse, got to do it. But I'm really interested to hear it because my wife thinks I'm a nerd. Anytime we see local honey on the side of the road, always stopping and buying it. Same with you, Al?
Oh, bro.
Yeah. Becky's the same way because, you know, Becky likes to put honey in her tea. So anytime she can go get like a local honey place and buy honey from someone that grew it on their farm and they had it, she'll go for that over anything else, right? Because you know that that's coming from a farm, you're supporting local business, but at the same time, you're getting quality stuff, right? It's not preserved, it's not going through and all that. So it's cool, man. It always makes me want to try to do it so I could sell it, but I don't need anything else to try to sell, bro. I just need y'all to buy these t-shirts, you know what I mean?
If you're wearing Al's t-shirt tonight, we need pictures so we can put it on the website. Send us pictures, or it didn't happen, Bob.
It's called a selfie, homie. Do it.
And we'll reach out to you, House, and we'll get that bunker shirt made. Maybe can make some money for the Tomball VFW in some way, shape, or form. Got to push that though. And then this says, Bob says that Ty Mike retired a full bird colonel. That's Mike Johnston, commandant at Leavenworth, commandant, I guess, of the MP Corps. Iron was Captain C. Yeah, I know Iron Mike was Captain Corvacero, but there was a contest that Johnston put together that was called Iron Champion, and just what he did for the Esprit de Corps to build up 561, that's what I was talking about with him being Iron. But appreciate you, CIA Bob, always keeping us on point with the history of the 101st. If you ain't got nothing else, hell yeah, brother, he says. If you ain't got nothing else, take us out, Matthew.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's Thursday night. We had another amazing story. Talks to a great leader, a great patriot, and that's what we like to do here. Again, if you have a story to tell, we'd love to tell it. We do have people that have reached out. So if you've reached out to us and you don't have your date yet, just hang tight. We got to get it scheduled, but we want to tell as many stories as we can. You know, the only way that we keep things going and we keep people's memories alive, especially for, you know, the soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, anybody that's been out in those combat zones and didn't come home, is to continue to say their name. And so we want to do that, but more importantly, we want to show everybody out there that, you know, no matter what you've done or where you've been, there's always something to come through on the other side. So, you know, check on each other and make sure everybody's good and show up next week. You know, here's what we need you to do. We need you to go subscribe on YouTube, because we already told you next week you're only going to get it on YouTube. So for, you know, Sergeant Major Moore, you're going to have to go to YouTube. I don't know if you got a YouTube algorithm, but everybody out there that's on Facebook, we appreciate it. But we need you to go check out YouTube, share it with your friends, tell people that we're live, and let's continue to tell those stories, right? You know, at the end of the day, every veteran has a story to tell, and they're all important. So let's just keep this thing moving. We'll see you guys next week, and don't forget, 7 p.m. next Thursday. We'll see you there.
I got nothing, Mike. You pretty much covered it all. I would just say again, call a battle buddy, call a friend, call somebody, let them know this week you're thinking about them, and you want to see them tomorrow and tell them you love them. So just reach out to somebody and let them know you're thinking about them. That's all I got.
Yeah, appreciate that. Hey, here's that picture of
hey,
Bob.
There he is.
He was wearing your shirt tonight. So
Mr. Phenomenal.
Don't miss the show anymore. Formation is every Thursday, 7 p.m. right here for let me pull that down. There we go. We're Al Hero, Matt Johnson, and myself. Appreciate you coming out. Good night. God bless.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, contact the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Then press 1.